So thank you for watching. This is the explanation and walkthrough of paper 21, May-June 2020. So for the first question here, okay, things that you need to take note was that the balance of each of the parts of the rectangle is actually 8 minus 3, and then it was being divided by 2 because the parts was being split equally into 2 parts. So if you don't want to do this calculation, you can just take 8 minus 3, you will get the balance of 5, and there's total of 4, 5 over there, which is 20. Alternatively, if you were to follow what I did, where I labeled the star over there, there's actually 8 star, hence I took 8 minus 3 divided by 2, then I multiply it by 8. Followed by 8 multiplied with 6, okay, because there's 6, 8 over there as I labeled. Lastly, it will be 3 times 6, so the total will actually add up to 86. Question 2, finding the highest odd numbers that is a factor of 60 and 90. So most of you should be able to get this right, but little things to take note is that they wanted odd numbers. So you can't actually take 30. Okay, so you must actually narrow down and shortlist whatever variables that you have, so such as 5 and 15. So 15 is the obvious one because it is the highest odd numbers that is qualified as a factor of 60 and 90. For question 3, write down the highest marks scored on test 1. So if you were to trace from the graph, you should get 66 as the highest score, and write down the types of correlation shown in this scatter diagram. This thing here will be positive because if your test 1 score is higher, your test 2 will also reflect the respective score. So this is a positive correlation. So drawing the lines of best fit, okay, there's no right or wrong answer here, but preferably try to join as many points as possible. So in my case, I draw a line that passes through 4 of the coordinates stated over there. Using a line of best fit and estimate his marks for test 2 if he were to score 40 in test 1. So from 40, I trace it up to my line of best fit. It is approximately 46.5. So in your marking scheme, there's an acceptable range of 46 to 50. So as long as your answer falls within the range, you should be able to get the full marks. Question 4, things to take note for you to get the part 1's results is that the total probability will actually be 1. Hence, by taking 1 minus of 0.15, 0.2 and 0.43, you should get yellow's probability as 0.22. As for part B, Abdul take a ball at random and replace it into the bag, and he does this 200 times. So 200 times 0.2, you should get your results as 40. As for question 5, this is a sequence question, and finding the largest numbers in this sequence. So things to take note is that when your n is 0, it doesn't qualify as a sequence. So the smallest, okay, numbers that we can take will actually be 1. So 60 minus 8, 1, you should get 52. Okay, the reason why I took 1 is because the common difference here is negative 8. So if the n is only 1, means I only minus 8 from the total, which qualify as the largest number. As for part B here, same thing, it is also arithmetic sequence. So the common difference here is actually plus 7 for each sequence there. And the zero term is, we trace it through taking 12 minus by 7, you should get 5. So 5 plus 7n should be your final n-term sequence. So you only remember this, please pair your n with the common difference instead of the zero term. Okay, because zero term represent what does the sequence initially have. So question 6. The concept that you are using here is not actually from a trapezium. It's actually from your corresponding angle concept. So if you were to extend the line, like what I did over here, you will know that it will form a straight line, where 97 minus 3x added with 69 plus 5x will be 180. So by running a calculation, you should get x equals to 7. As for the next one, okay, use this information and write 438,000 0.48 as a product of its prime factor. So what I did here was to list down all the prime factor that they already been given, and then I multiply them up. Multiply means that if you have a same base, like in our case there's 2 that was repeating, so one of them is 2 to the power of 1 and the other it was 2 to the power of 4. Simply adding 1 and the 4 together, your 2, which is the prime factor here, we have the power of 5. Repeat it for the same remaining variables over there, where we have 3 and 13. So you should get 2 to the power of 5 times 3 to the power of 4 times 13 square. Question 8. Okay, first I changed the mixed numbers into improper fraction, and then minusing it off with 7 over 8, where I changed their denominator into the same of 24. So the 7 from the 7 over 3 was being multiplied by 8, and the 7 from 7 over 8 will be multiplied by 3. So after you run the calculation, you should get 35 over 24 times 6 over 25. Simplify them, so final answer should be 7 over 20. So as you can see, it's a 4 marks question, so please list down all the possible steps. As for question 9a here, okay, things that I noticed were that they have a common factor of 7 and also a. So I extracted 7a out of both of them, and we have a balance of bracket 3a plus 4b. As for part b over there, I extracted 5. So I got 4x squared minus 9y squared. So this 4x squared and 9y squared can actually be transformed into the formula where a squared minus b squared equals to a plus b, a minus b. So I rearranged the 4 and 9 into 2x bracket square minus 3y bracket square. So you adopt the formula, you should get 5, multiply with 2x minus 3y, multiply with 2x plus 3y. As for question 10 here, so first thing that I did to identify x was that using the circle theorem, where angle from the circumference is actually half of the value of angle from the center. So it is referring to angle AOB to ACB. Okay, so by taking 110 divided by 2, okay, or multiply with 0.5, you should get 55 for x. As for y, pretty straightforward. This is actually angle from the same sector, where the starting point and the ending point will be the same. So it is referring to the angle ECD and EFD. So both of them will be 24 degrees. As for question 11, okay, this is a speed time graph, and the details here will be when they're asking for distance travel. Basically, what you have to do is to calculate the area of this trapezium. So the shape is slightly tricky, hence I actually break it down into two parts where it consists of trapezium and also a rectangle. So it's not necessary for you to follow me. You can actually use other ways which you find comfortable with. So some of them might prefer breaking it down into a triangle and also two rectangles alongside of it. So it's optional. Use whichever that you are more comfortable with. So in my case, I break it down into trapezium and rectangle. So trapezium formulas goes by top plus bottom divided by 2 multiplied by the height, which is 6 here. So after calculation, you should get 990 meters. As for question 12, find the interquartile range for the time taken for the children to complete the puzzle. So if you're unfamiliar with box and whisker diagram, like this one over here, please take note that I actually labeled for you. Upper quarter will be the highest value of the box, and the lower quarter will be the lowest value of the box. Please do not take the line at the front and the back, because those is for you to calculate the range. So finding the difference, if we be taking 65 minus 48, you should get 17. As for B here, okay, using the information, you should be able to plot out a similar box and whisker diagram, same as mine. So the maximum will be 75 and the minimum will be 28. So each box over there, each small box is actually 2. So by adjusting it, you should be able to draw out similar graph as mine. So my recommendation is to use pencil instead of pen. The reason why I use pen here in the video is just to show you when I take a photo, it will be clearer. Okay, it's just for illustration purposes. Please, when it comes to graph, do not use pen. As for question 13, this question here is surrounding what we call mathematically similar. Okay, so for me, I prefer to find total length of AC first. So BC are the parts that I don't know the value, so I decided to put AX for it. So when you're comparing the length, you don't actually have to square root or cube root, because it is not surface area nor volume. So just use their value and compare. You should be able to get your X value as 7. Okay, so by running the calculation, we'll be taking 21 plus 7, okay, and also 18, okay, which is CD's value, and then adopt it into Pythagoras Theorem to identify the final answer. So the final answer there is for AD, it's actually twice the value of radius. So by dividing it by 2, you should get your answer as 16.6 after correcting it to 3 significant figures. Question 14a. Okay, remember, when they are looking for value of p through the f, gx here equals to 20x plus p. Gx is actually 5x minus 4. So I substituted it first. So now we have f bracket 5x minus 4, where this 5x minus 4 represent the new x that we are having. So by substituting this 5x minus 4 into function f's x position, you should get 4 bracket 5x minus 4 plus 3. multiply accordingly, you should get 20x minus 13 as your final answer. So if you were to fill up 20x minus 13, you will get only 1 marks, okay, because what they are actually asking for is p. So by running the comparison, you should get your p as negative 13. As for part B, okay, I'm using the simple 3 steps here. As per usual, I will copy down the hx equals to 5x minus 1 over 3. I then remove the hx and replace it with y. So now we have y equals to 5x minus 1 over 3, and then I swap their position. So basically swap means changing the y into x, and whatever that was x originally will be replaced into y. So I proceed with the cross multiplication where I bring up the 3 and multiply it with x. So 3x equals to 5y minus 1. Rearrange them and identify your new y. Your new y here will actually be your h inverse. So these are the 3 steps. Please remember this. So I go through it again. Copy down the question. Change whatever function that was there into y. This is your first steps. Followed by swapping them. Basically replacing whatever that was x into y and replacing whatever that was y into x. The third step will be rearranging, and you will be getting the inverse that you're looking for. Question 15. Okay, this is something new. Okay, I didn't expect them to put this type of question here, but it is really tricky. So the first information that you actually need to extract from the statement given is that the keyword bisector. Bisector basically splitting a angle into half. So if let's say we have an angle of 60, and when we draw a line and then say that it is bisecting the angle, which means it's splitting the 60 into 30 and 30 degree respectively. So in our case, since our RQB is x, so our PQR will also be x. So these are the first information then I can get. The other thing was that they are using another circle theorem which goes by alternate segment theorem, where RQB is actually equals to RPQ. So RPQ will now be x as well. Okay, looking at it, it seems like it is leaning towards a equilateral triangle instead of isosceles. And the deal breaker here is hidden in the information where x less than 60. So if it's less than 60, it means that the remaining angle that we yet to identify, PRQ, will actually be more than 60. Because when we add everything up, it should be 180. And if two sides is already lesser than 60, which means that one of the sides will actually have more value. So in our case, this triangle PQR will now qualify as a isosceles triangle. Question 16, very straightforward. Okay, it is assessing you on the inversely proportional. So I first constructed the equation that goes by m equals to k over p minus 1 bracket square. So some of you might wonder, what does the k play a role over here? So please take note on this. When it comes to proportional question, they will also always, there's a scale factors involvement. So the k here is actually the scale factor that we need to identify. So by substituting 5 and 4 into the m's and p's position, you should get your k's value as 45. So m equals to 45 over p minus 1 bracket square. So looking at the question, they wanted us to find m's value when p equals to 6. So by substituting 6 into p's position, you should get 1.8 as the final results. Question 17A9. Number 1, 3m. Basically multiply the 3 into both the changes in x and changes in y. Okay, you should get 1521. Question 2, pretty straightforward. When you saw the two lines over there, they are referring to the magnitude. Okay, so what you need to do is to use Pythagoras Theorem, and that's pretty much it. And you should be able to get 26 as your final answer. Section B, okay, because it is a parallelogram, things that you didn't take note was that AB and OC will actually be the same. So they are both Q. And AO and CB will also be the same, and they are both P here. Right? Then I utilize the information where AE to EB is 3 to 1. So 3 to 1 here, okay, please take note on this. AB is the total, okay, and then the total ratio will be 4. So AE is actually 3 over 4 of AB, and EB is actually 1 over 4 of AB. So by substituting Q into it, you should get your AE as 3 over 4Q and EB as 1 over 4Q. So they are looking for OE, hence it will go through OA plus AE. By substituting the variables, you should get P plus 3 over 4AB, and your final answer should be P plus 3 over 4Q. Question 18, okay, this is assessing you on rounding value, okay, or upper bound and lower bound. So nearest whole numbers means that the rounding value is surrounding 1. So divide the 1 by 2, you should get 0.5. And please take note that I will always put a plus minus because I am yet to decide what to use. So in our case, we will be using upper bound, which means all the variables there, okay, I have to maximize their value. So I will be adding 0.5. So 2 bracket 12 plus 0.5 plus 4 plus 0.5. And your final answer should be 34. As for question 19, finding the angle between AG line and the base cuboid ABCD. So first thing that I did was to calculate the length of AC, okay, because they wanted the diagonal AG line. So I need the base of this triangle they are referring to. So I did the Pythagoras Theorem at the side where square root of 20 square plus 5.5 square, it will be equals to 20.7. So this 20.7 here, okay, I actually transfer it down to the triangle that I illustrated, which is CAG. However, I'm still missing one information, which is CG's value. So CG, HD, AE, and BF is actually the height of this cuboid shapes. Since they've given us the volume, for you to trace the height is actually pretty easy, because by taking the length, the width, and the height, multiply all them up, it should be equals to 495. So through that, I identified that my height was 4.5. I then transfer the value of 4.5 into CG. So with this information, the angle, okay, we'll be using opposite and adjacent. So tangent GAC equals to 4.5, which is our opposite, and over 20.7, which is our adjacent. So the angle will be tangent inverse 4.5 over 20.7. Your final answer, 12.3. So question 20, okay, a rather tricky one. All they were trying to assess you was the keyword intersection. So which means these two lines variables are actually equals to each other. And when you transfer it, okay, you should get x squared minus x squared minus 2x plus 7x plus 1 minus 5. So the balance from this calculation should be 5x minus 4. And for question 21 here, expand and simplify. Okay, I first expanded the x plus 3 with x minus 5 and multiply them up. Then from the x squared minus 2x minus 15, I multiply it with 3x minus 1. So through this calculation, you should get your final answer as 3x cubed minus 7x squared minus 43x plus 15. Question 22, okay, this is also a tricky one because they're testing you on whether you know that what does a hexagon means. Okay, basically a hexagon actually have 6 sides and then it can be cut into 6 equal size triangle or 6 equilateral triangle. Okay, because of the keyword regular. Okay, means all of the sides is same and then all of them has a side length of 7.4. So by using the half AB sine CE, the formula for us to calculate an area of the triangle, you should get one of them as 23.7 and multiplying it by 6, you should get 142.3 cm square as the area of this regular hexagon. So that's pretty much it for this paper. Okay, I hope that you will be able to understand this explanation video that I make. If you have friends that are struggling, feel free to share it to them, and I wish you all the best in your upcoming examination. Thank you.